So you know that feeling when you open your bank app, you see that one big number in savings, and you feel kind of wealthy for a second.
Oh, yeah. For about 5 minutes.
Exactly. And then a week later, the annual insurance bill hits, and that feeling just, completely shatters. The money's there, but you have no idea what it's actually for.
Well, that confusion is a type of financial anxiety. It's just this one big blob of cash, and every intention, every goal is all mixed together in the same pot.
So when you have to, I don't know, pay for a car repair, you don't know if you're stealing from your holiday fund or raiding your long-term investment money.
Precisely. There's no clarity.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission today is to dive deep into a framework that's designed to bring a kind of surgical precision to your savings. Our sources lay out this really organized 4-pillar strategy, and it's all about turning saving from this effort into an automated habit. And the philosophy is simple. Separating your reserves means separating your intentions.
And what's so fascinating about it is that the whole system emphasizes organization and purpose, not just, chasing the highest possible return on one account. It's systematic.
It is.
Now, we should probably add a quick word of context here. We're sharing principles from our sources. This is for education. We're not your personal financial advisors.
Right. Always base your own decisions on your own research, your risk tolerance, all that important stuff.
Exactly.
So with that in mind, let's jump right into the architecture. The whole thing is built around linking every dollar to a specific job and a specific time horizon.
Yeah, you're giving every dollar a job title. And there are 4 very distinct categories, starting with the most immediate, non-negotiable costs and moving all the way out to long-term wealth building.
Okay, pillar 1. The sources call this the non-negotiable one, annual expenses. So tell us why this has to be the absolute foundation.
This one is strictly short-term. We're talking money you will need in less than a year. And its purpose isn't for, true emergencies, but for what the sources call constrained recurring expenses.
Okay, so things you know are coming.
Things you absolutely know are coming. Your property taxes, car registration, insurance premiums, maybe even planned holiday spending. They aren't surprises. They're just bills you forgot about.
And the sources are so emphatic about this. They say, if you only build one single reserve, this has to be it. Why is that? Why is dealing with a predictable cost the top priority?
Because it just eliminates a huge source of mental stress. I mean, if you know you have a $3,000 bill coming and that money isn't set aside,
You scramble?
you scramble or you feel guilty dipping into what should be your future. But if you just put away 1/12 of that cost every month, then when the bill comes, the money's just there. It's waiting. That predictability is, it's priceless.
That makes so much sense. You deal with the known pain points first. Okay, so moving on to pillar 2, treasury. This one is a bit more medium term.
Yes, the time horizon here is less than 5 years. You could almost call this the fun reserve, I suppose. It's for occasional pleasure, maybe some consumption, things you might otherwise be tempted to put on a credit card.
Okay, but I can hear someone asking right now, if I'm trying to build wealth, why am I dedicating an entire pillar to fun? Isn't that just giving myself permission to spend?
It's a great question. And the answer is really about behavioral psychology.
Yeah.
Saving for the long term is a marathon, right? It's hard. And if you never, ever get to enjoy the fruits of your labor, you just burn out. You stop saving. This treasury reserve is like a pressure release valve. It protects the other, more critical pillars from being raided out of temptation.
So it's defensive spending, in a way. It protects the long game. Okay, that's a really smart way to look at it. Now for the big one, pillar 3, security.
Yeah, this is your true long-term shield. It's for money you hope to not touch for more than 5 years, maybe even longer. Its purpose is singular and it's serious. It's for major, genuinely unforeseen events.
So a job loss, a major medical issue.
Exactly. Things you truly cannot predict. This is the money to be used only for Gray's unforeseen events.
So if the annual expenses pillar covers the expected, the security fund covers the truly unexpected. The framework recommends a target of 3 to 6 months of expenses?
That range is there because everyone's situation is different. If you have a super stable job, maybe a 2-income household, 3 months might feel okay. But if you're self-employed or in a volatile industry, the sources really push for that 6-month target.
Because that's your armor.
That's your invisible armor, as one source puts it. Having 6 months of a runway gives you the mental space to handle a crisis without having to, say, panic sell your investments at the worst possible time.
Which is the perfect setup for the final pillar, number 4, investment. This one's a little different. The time horizon is sort of both short-term and long-term.
It is, yeah. It's short-term in that you're accumulating cash in this account for, maybe less than a year, but its destination is strictly long-term. This is money that gets deployed into assets you won't touch for 5+ years.
Stocks, funds, that sort of thing.
Exactly. The key mental shift is that this has to be money you are absolutely sure you won't need for anything else. It's capital waiting to be put to work, totally separate from your cash reserves.
So we've got the 4 jobs, the 4 pillars, but how do you actually, physically keep them separate? Most of us have what? A checking account and maybe one savings account.
And this is where the organization becomes so critical.
Yeah.
It goes back to that idea of mental clarity. The goal is to be able to look at your accounts and know instantly what every single dollar is for. That's what gets rid of the anxiety.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me because the common advice is always put all your savings in one high-yield account to get the best interest rate.
Right.
But the sources here suggest something different. How do they solve this separation problem?
They say you should open multiple dedicated savings accounts. And this is a really important trade-off. Yes, you might earn slightly more interest with everything in one high-yield bucket, but the sources argue that organizational value is far more important.
So you're saying the clarity of having 4 distinct accounts is worth more than the tiny bit of extra interest you might get from one.
That's the argument. Exactly. The system itself is the value. You're using your bank accounts as an organizational tool first and interest-generating tools second.
That's a huge reframing.
It is. You could use, say, your tax-advantaged accounts or a high-yield account for the big long-term pots, like security and investment. But for annual expenses and treasury, the sources say just ask your bank to open simple, basic savings accounts, even if they earn almost nothing. The clarity of 4 separate balances is the real return on investment.
Okay, so once the 4 accounts are set up, we need a plan to actually feed them. Do we build them one by one, like sequentially, or do we fill them all at the same time?
That's the key strategy question. And while the whole system is adaptable, the general advice is that if you can, you should build them in parallel.
Why is that?
It just ensures you're always working on all 4 parts of your financial life at once. You're covering today's predictable costs, you're allowing for some fun, you're building your safety net, and you're growing your future, all simultaneously.
But I imagine if you're just starting out, there have to be some non-negotiables. What are the absolute minimums?
There are 2. Priority number 1 is to fully fund Pillar 1, your annual expenses. You have to automate that, the required maintenance on your financial life.
Okay.
And priority number 2, the minimum for your future. You have to put at least 10% of your total income toward the investment pillar.
That 10% minimum for investing is a big commitment for a lot of people, but it sets that non-negotiable priority for building wealth. Beyond those 2, is the rest just up to you?
Totally flexible. You might pour extra money into the security fund until it hits that 6-month target and then redirect that cash flow somewhere else. The distribution can change. The philosophy here is all about control. As one source says, you are the master, and money is the servant, not the other way around.
Let's make this tangible. The sources have this great example of Sandra. She had a savings capacity of 600 euros a month. She had to be really intentional with it.
Right, and that 600 euros was about 30% of her salary, which is a lot. The source material mentions she adopted this mindset of difficult choices, easy life, and just committed to the structure.
So walk us through how she allocated that 600 euros, starting with those 2 priorities.
Okay, so first, she calculated her total annual expenses for the year. Let's say it was 2,400 euros. So she divided that by 12.
200 a month.
Exactly. So 200 euros per month went straight into her annual expenses account. Pillar 1 covered.
And the investment minimum.
Her salary was 2,000 euros, so the 10% minimum meant another 200 euros. That went directly into her investment account. So right there, 400 of her 600 euros are already assigned.
So she's got 200 left. How does she split that between the defensive security fund and the more immediate treasury fund?
Well, she was building her security reserve from scratch, so she decided to just split the rest evenly. She put 100 euros, which is 5% of her salary, into treasury, and another 100 euros, 5%, into security.
So you get this really clear 10, 10, 5, 5% breakdown, a total of 30% of her salary, all directed automatically and with a purpose. But that clarity really depends on one final critical step to make it all work: automation.
This is the magic key. This is what makes it effortless. It just removes all the friction. Once you know your percentages, you have to program automatic transfers to each of those accounts. Because if you wait until the end of the month and rely on willpower,
The money will be gone.
the money will always be gone. You'll always find a reason to spend it first.
And the sources give this really specific, kind of fascinating piece of timing advice here. They say to set the transfer for the 5th of every month. Not the 1st, when you get paid, but the 5th. Why the 5th?
Yeah, isn't that a brilliant little psychological hack? If your salary lands on the 1st and you set the transfer for the 1st, any tiny delay or any bill that hits on the 2nd could cause you to see that full balance and think.
Ooh, I can afford to skip saving this month.
Exactly. By setting it on the 5th, you mentally decouple saving from the big rush of getting paid.
Right.
It becomes just another stable, non-negotiable bill. It's due on the 5th. You're paying your future self first before daily life has a chance to chip away at your cash.
So the money moves where you want it to go before you even have a chance to think about it.
Yes. And if you connect all these dots, the big insight here is that structure really dictates your success. You define the roles and annual expenses first, 10% to investment minimum, and you automate it all on the 5th. You stop reacting to your money and you start intentionally building your financial life.
And I think it's important to remember that this framework gives you the structure, but you have to adapt it. There's this great Charlie Munger quote in the sources. Take ideas from wherever they come, but use your own brain to assemble them. This four-pillar system is a powerful blueprint, but the real benefit comes when you consciously tweak that 101 out of 5 split based on your own goals, your own risk tolerance, and where you are in life. The framework provides the rails, but you're still the one driving the train.
It's really about being an active participant, and recognizing that sometimes just getting organized is the highest yielding investment you can make for your own peace of mind.
If this deep dive helped you get some clarity on your own saving strategy and maybe inspired you to take control, make sure to hit that like button, share this with someone else who could use this system, and of course subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into another stack of fascinating sources.